Let's rewind the clock to Thursday night. Number 1 Oregon softball hosting the number 16 Kentucky Wildcats in Game 1 of Super Regionals in front of a sellout crowd at Jane Sanders Stadium. Pac-12 Pitcher of the Year Megan Kleiss calmly and coolly strikes out the first Wildcats batter, and all was right in Eugene, Oregon. But things took a turn real quick. Kentucky came to play and came away with a 9-6 victory over the hometown favorites to take Game 1 of this best-of-3 series versus Oregon. A gut check for the Ducks. An unnerving feeling settling in. One more loss from not advancing to nationals. A must-win the next night. With a backs-against-the-wall mentality, Oregon dug in and did not phase one bit. The Ducks went on to win 6-1 Friday evening and then an 11-1 run rule win today to advance once again to the College World Series. The Ducks learned two very important lessons that Friday night that just may pay off in Oklahoma City, home of the WCWS. The first, what it feels like to lose. The second, how to bounce back from it. The Ducks now have a taste of what it feels like to lose at this level of play, face adversity, and fight with their backs against the wall. Yes, the Ducks had 3 conference losses earlier in the but the Ducks have not experienced a loss at this caliber. Not with the on the line and the possibility of not playing one more game. This is probably the best time that it could happen to us as a team, said Oregon senior DJ Sanders on the timing of Thursday night's loss. Even during regionals, I don't think we played as well as we should have or could have. So we thought, okay, maybe this is the wake-up call, we need to come out and play like we know we can or how we should be. So really the first game was probably the wake-up call that we needed. Certainly I think every team has a gut check, said Oregon coach Mike White. It happens a lot. You either got to persevere in those moments and come back and believe in what you're doing, or you go home. And so I think the finale of all, this team stepped up and that's what you got to do, have to do. We learn more from our mistakes than we do our successes, and for the Oregon Ducks, those lessons, how to look adversity in the face and overcome it, may just punch a ticket into the national championship. Backs against the wall, feathers ruffled, a must-win situation. Oregon softball had quite the test in front of them Friday night in front of a sellout crowd at Jane Sanders Stadium. In the biggest test of the Ducks are in a win-or-go-home situation, down 0-1 in a best-of-3 series to the number 16 Kentucky Wildcats in NCAA Super Regionals. After giving up 9 runs on 10 hits in last night's loss, many wondered how and if the Ducks would bounce back, because Oregon had not been put in a situation like this all along. The Ducks haven't given up that many runs since playing at the Arizona Wildcats in April 2017. It was a different story tonight. Oregon came in focused, fired up, feeling good, and defeated the Wildcats 6-1. Just a much better overall performance, especially defensively. We made some big plays, said Oregon coach Mike White. You could tell we were fighting for our lives. That's what we had to do with our backs up against the wall. I was really proud of our team. Hopefully tomorrow we can do the same thing. It was there and I didn't want it to be, said senior infielder Jenna Lilly on dropping the first game versus Kentucky. You have to acknowledge that that's the reality of it and what we're playing for to keep power going. So definitely the thought was there, but do everything we can to not let that happen. Freshman sensation and hometown kid Lauren Burke has not faced a bit in her first postseason play as a collegiate player. Burke, from Marist High School, here in Eugene, Oregon, has batted 5 for 6 with 7 RBIs and 2 homers this postseason. But this is not over quite yet. 1 down, 1 to go. Oregon softball must have back-to-back wins over the Wildcats to advance to the College World Series. One more game tomorrow evening, 6 p.m., and Jane Sanders Stadium. Will the same team that came in focused in Game 2 repeat itself in Game 3, or will the momentum swing back to Kentucky's side as it did in Game 1? Softball fans are in for a real treat tomorrow night with a trip to nationals on the line. 4 errors, 9 runs given up, 10 hits allowed, a rather uncharacteristic night for the number 1 seeded Oregon Ducks in Round 1 of the NCAA Super Regionals. The number 16 Kentucky Wildcats, coming off run-ruling all 3 of their opponents last weekend, the bats were hot and junior Pac-12 Pitcher of the Year Megan Kleiss was tested early and often. Kleiss did not seem like her usual self, and besides striking out the first Kentucky batter, had a rough first inning giving up a 3-run homer to Wildcats ace hitter Abby Cheek. The Ducks' offense did manage to put up 6 runs on the night, but the defense did not hold, giving up 4 errors on bad throws. "We know our backs are up against the wall right now," said Coach Mike White following the game. "It makes it pretty simple. We have to come out and win, otherwise our is done. I thought our team fought hard. We never gave up. We battled until the last out. Unfortunately it didn't work out today. Hopefully tomorrow it can be a different story." Oregon will face a do-or-die situation tomorrow in this best-of-3 series with the Wildcats already down 0-1. Kentucky, I give them a lot of credit. They came in here and they came to play. So like coach says, pretty simple. You win or you don't, said senior catcher Gwen Svekos. Oregon must flush this game and move on. Focus on the task at hand, do all the little things right, and flat out win tomorrow. With their backs against the wall, how will this team respond now? It's what we do tomorrow and the next day that matter the most, said White. How are we going to bounce back? Sure, we had a bad game, but if we want to be the national champions and be the #1 team in the country, we need to be able to come back from this. Plenty of teams have done it before. We need to be fired up and come out and play a better game. The #1 overall seeded Oregon Ducks are built on a foundation of experience. Players like seniors Gwen Svekos, Jenna Lilly, and Lauren Lindvall who have been in the national tournament before. Postseason success relies on experience such as this. But it doesn't stop there for the Ducks. Coach Mike White and his staff have made quite the effort in terms of recruiting and can be seen with the electric underclassmen on this Oregon roster. For starters, first baseman Mia Camuso was second on the team last year with 47 RBIs. Camuso is just a sophomore. Outfielder Shannon Rhodes made her name known last with her powerful hitting, also just a sophomore. Haley Cruz finds herself sitting higher in the batting order this year in postseason play, combined with her speed, rounds out this impressive sophomore class. 2 freshmen in particular really jump off the roster. Local kid Lauren Burke out of Marist High School, Eugene, Oregon, hit a 2-run homer in the Ducks' first game versus UAlbany to boost Oregon into round 2 of the NCAA Eugene Regionals. Backing up senior Svekos behind the plate is freshman Mary Iacopo, who looks as confident as ever behind the plate, has a deadly arm, and a threat at bat as well. Speaking on the freshman and sophomore class, Coach White said, "They are putting a lot of pressure on the upperclassmen. We are loading a great senior class and that next class has to be ready to go. That's what we try to do, to have depth. This roster has potential all around, but the most solid group of all has to be on the mound." Pick your poison between Pac-12 Pitcher of the Year junior Megan Kleist and sophomore stud Miranda Elisha, both with eras under 1. On top of that, sophomore Maggie Ballint proved last as just a freshman that she can make quite the impact as well. Elisha and Kleist allowed 0 runs over the course of regionals weekend. The Oregon Ducks await the winner of the Lexington region to be played next weekend in Super Regionals. Chicago Troy Browns only at the University of Oregon didn't go as he planned. Not only did the team not make the NCAA tournament, the heralded wing was only good, and not great, on the court. Even so, after averaging 11.3, 6.2 rebounds and 3.2 assists for the Ducks, Brown said he saw enough in himself to declare for the NBA draft. "I would say it was okay," he said of his freshman in Eugene. "It wasn't the best year, or the year I wanted. Every kid dreams of going to college and being the star player, but we all go through our ups and downs, and it's one of those things I learned from, and I feel I matured from." He said he feels the up-and-down tempo of the NBA will better suit his offensive game and complement his defensive versatility. NBA scouts seem to agree as Brown is projected to be a mid to late first-round selection. "I can do everything on the court," Brown said. "I feel like I can score the ball really well, but at Oregon that wasn't my role. We had a lot of guys who could put the ball in the hoop. I was more of a glue guy, and I was okay with that. I was fine just showing my versatility and doing the hard stuff, rebounding, guarding the best player, diving for loose balls and stuff like that." The 6'7" Brown appears to be the type of hybrid player that is becoming valued in today's NBA game: long, athletic and able to guard several positions. The knock on his game, his outside shooting, has been a point of emphasis in his pre-draft workouts. "The more repetitions, the better," Brown said. He said he is embracing the undefined nature of what position he will play in the NBA, noting that the league is trending more toward positionless basketball. "I feel like coming out of college everybody sees me as a small forward, but I can still make my way up to whatever position my coach needs me to do to get the W," Brown said. "That's what I'm willing to do. By Tim Carney. There were 9 players drafted from the University of Washington, the University of Oregon and Washington State University in this NFL draft. I have picked 4 of them that I think will play well in their first year. Vita Vea, DT Washington Tampa Bay Bucks, first round 12th pick. Vea is an absolute monster on the defensive line. His strength is hard to match and he will have some success with his bull rush as a pro as a rookie. Vea really shows his special ability by how quick he is. He is a smooth athlete even at more than 330 pounds. I believe his first step will still be enough to gain leverage against other linemen in the NFL, and I think he could get 5 or 6 sacks his year. He was a first-team Pac-12 player this year, and won 2 more Pac-12 Defensive Lineman awards as well. The Bucks believe in his playmaking ability too. They proved how highly they thought of him by picking him 12th overall. There is no chance for a defensive lineman to go that early unless he can get to the quarterback. Royce Freeman, RB Oregon Denver Broncos, 3rd round 7th pick. The Broncos grabbed one of the most dynamic and consistent playmakers at the running back position in the 3rd round with Freeman. His nickname of Rolls-Royce shows how smooth he can look as he is making plays with the ball in his hands. Did I mention he has more rushing touchdowns in his career than anyone else in Pac-12 history, and is in the top 10 all-time rushes in the NCAA? CJ Anderson is no longer the lead running back in Denver, so the door is open for Freeman to snag the starting spot over the inconsistent Devontae Booker. Cole Madison, OG Washington State Green Bay Packers, 5th round first pick. Madison's number 1 trait is his athleticism. He moves better than most people his size and even people smaller than him. The Packers have Aaron Rodgers running the show, so the offensive line benefits from high mobility and quick release. This could help Madison make an impact if given the chance early on. Things are unsettled on the right side of Green Bay's O-line, and Madison could be a guy that impresses in training camp and gets the starting gig. Terrell Cosby, OG Oregon Detroit Lions, 5th round 16th pick. Cosby was a first-team Pac-12 player this past and according to Pro Football Focus did not allow a single sack or quarterback hit in 2017. Many people see his run blocking as his strength and he is very good at it, but pass blocking will get to him a job in the NFL. The Lions have not had a great O-line in a long time, and this is another attempt to bolster it by finding the last piece. I can't believe Crosby was still on the board in the middle of the 5th round, so he was a bit of a steal in my book. I think he could play tackle or guard for them as a fill-in guy this year. Oregon softball may just have the formula for a national championship, and it starts on the mound. 14 strikeouts. 77 pitches with 61 strikes in 7 innings. 0 runs. Just a glimpse into the life of Oregon Ducks sophomore pitcher Miranda Elisha in Game 1 of the NCAA Eugene Regional vs. UAlbany. Elisha took command of the game right away, going 3 up, 3 down in the first inning, leading the Ducks to a 4-0 victory over the Great Danes. But this is nothing new. Elisha has been doing this all along. The Ducks head into the postseason as the number 1 overall seed behind the stellar 1-2 punch on the mound of Elisha and Pac-12 Pitcher of the Year, junior Megan Kleist. The consistency of Elisha and Klesset have propelled the Ducks to a Pac-12 conference championship in an already gruesome conference with constant top 10 national caliber teams. Both Kleist and Elisha were also selected this to the first-team All-Pac-12. Oregon finished with a 47-7 overall record, a 21-3 conference record, and an overall number 1 seed in the USA Today poll, heading into the NCAA post, when deciding who would get the starting nod versus UAlbany. Coach Mike White said, "We've got 2 number 1s out there, it could have gone either way. Having not 1, but 2 pitchers in your arsenal combined with the power off the bats for Oregon softball, could call for a deep tourney run." Eugene, Oregon. University of Oregon head coach Mario Cristobal announced title enhancements for 3 members of his coaching staff on Thursday. Offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach Marcus Arroyo has added assistant head coach to his duties. Safeties coach Keith Hayward has added co-defensive coordinator duties to his role entering the 2018. In addition to being the associate head coach, defensive line coach Joe Salavia will now also serve as co-defensive coordinator, run game coordinator for the defense. The duo will work alongside defensive coordinator Jim Leavitt, who handles the play calling. "I'm very happy to announce these promotions for Marcus, Keith and Joe," said Cristobal. "These guys have played a critical role in the advancement of the program, helping us establish an identity and culture. I have a ton of belief in them as teachers and coaches in the game of football and in life. Arroyo joined the Ducks in February of 2017 as co-offensive coordinator while coaching the quarterbacks and tight ends. He was promoted to offensive coordinator this past December. In his first with the Ducks, the Oregon tied for the Pac-12 lead with 7 games of 40-plus points. Oregon is the 5th stop for Arroyo as a play caller, having already done so with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Southern Mississippi, Wyoming and San Jose State. Veterans of the Pac-12 Conference as both coaches and players, Salvia and Hayward were part of Leavitt's defensive staff in 2017 that provided an immediate improvement over the previous year. The Oregon defense made major jumps in nearly every statistical category, highlighted by total defense from 115th to 46th. Entering his second leading Oregon safeties room, Hayward has coached defensive backs at 4 different Pac-12 schools and was an All-Pac-10 cornerback at Oregon State. Prior to Oregon, he was the secondary coach at Louisville in 2016. An All-Pac-10 defensive lineman at Arizona before playing in the NFL for 8. Salvia spent 5 at Washington State prior to arriving in Eugene. While at Washington State, he served as the defensive line coach all 5 years and was the assistant head coach the final 2. Welcome to the flock. It was just last week that former Wake Forest star Tabari Hines announced his intentions to leave the Demon Deacons and take his talents to Eugene. God gave the task to a purposeful child! Take the pack Goduck stuck fast and loud green heart pic.twitter.com/8kpw21 Inc. Tabari Hines leopard checkered flag at Tabari Hines April 30, 2018. The 510, 175 pounds wide receiver instantly helps bring some much needed talent and depth to Oregon's receiving core. Junior Dylan Mitchell had a productive 2017 for the Ducks, and hopes to build on it in 2018, but the rest of the group is young and unproven. Hines looks to change that. As a junior last at Wake Forest, Hines led the team with 53 receptions, and was third on the team with 683 receiving yards and 7 scores. To put that in perspective, Mitchell was the leader in 2 of those categories for Oregon last, hauling in 42 receptions for 517 yards, while tight end Jacob Breeland led the team with 5 touchdowns. Hines would be number 1 in all 3. There is little doubt that Hines will make a difference on the field, but enough about that. Let's get to know a little bit more about the newest Duck. Hines had narrowed his transfer options to Oregon, USC, and Texas before ultimately deciding on UO, says players and the coaches really helped set Oregon apart. Thanks to all the jerseys, he says he actually watched a lot of Oregon football as a kid. How does he describe his new quarterback, Justin Herbert? Simply, HES the real deal. Hines says he doesn't know how to fish but wants to learn how. This is the Pacific Northwest. It might be kind of hard to find someone to teach him. Wink the emoji that best describes him. He says it's the cool guy with the glasses. Want to learn even more about the newest Duck? Be sure to tune into The Bridge tonight at 6 p.m. for the interview with Serena Winters and BRI Amaranthus. And since BRI does call him a #king, it would serve you well to follow Hines on Twitter at Tabari Hines and Instagram at Tabari Hines1. With the 153rd pick in the NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions selected offensive lineman Terrell Crosby out of the University of Oregon. Lions drafted Oregon football Terrell Crosby with the 153rd overall pick of the 2018 NFL Draft. Pic.twitter.com/using pspeg. Detroit Lions at Lions April 28, 2018. Crosby was a first-team All-State selection in Nevada prior to heading to Eugene, and came to Oregon with high expectations. He didn't start his career as a starter, but injuries on the line thrust him into the spotlight. Crosby seized the opportunity presented to him, starting 9 games at tackle and never letting go of the starting job. Injuries cut his 2016 short, forcing to miss all but 3 games, and gave him the juice to come back better than ever for his senior. He did just that. Crosby started all 13 games in his final in Eugene, winning the Morris Trophy as the Pac-12 Offensive Lineman of the Year. He also earned numerous honors, including First-Team All-Pac-12, College Madness Third-Team All-America, SB Nation and College Football New Honorable Mention All-America, and Pro Football Focus First-Team All-Pac-12. If you need any more evidence of how good he is, just looks at the career stats of the man he opened up running holes for, Royce Freeman. Crosby has all the tools for a long, lucrative NFL career.